You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith.
Greetings, young Squire Sprouts. Today is the 18th day in the third month in the year of our Lord 2023. My name is Sir Roland and you're listening to Saturdays with Sir Roland on Catholic Sprouts, where every Saturday we discuss the art of dragon slaying. Today is the feast of St. Cyril of Jerusalem. St. Cyril was Bishop of Jerusalem in the heyday of the Arian heresy in the 4th century, so there was much conflict and many arguments in the church. So he's a great intercessor for us as we discuss the blue dragon of wrath, especially because he emphasized the mercy of God. He said, "Your wounds are not greater than the physician's skill." This is a great lesson for us to remember that nobody is beyond the forgiveness of God in this life. No matter how much you or your enemy is under the influence of dragons, Jesus can still cure us. We should never give up hope on people. We should always hope for their conversion. Perhaps we can't save them, but rest assured Jesus can. This is why sometimes the worst of sinners become the greatest of saints. St. Cyril also talked about how the sign of the cross is a great weapon in dragon slaying. He said, "We proclaim the crucified and the devils quake. So don't be ashamed of the cross of Christ, openly sealed on your forehead, that the devils may behold the royal sign and flee, trembling far away. Make the sign of the cross when you eat or drink, when you sit, lie down and get up, when you speak, when you walk, in a word, at every act." So let's continue our conversation on the blue dragon of wrath. I told you how the blue dragon is a corruption of the color blue, and it's filled with anger and rage and unforgiveness. Last week, we heard a letter from St. John Paul II and how he faced, fought, and defeated the blue dragon in his lifetime by forgiving the man who tried to assassinate him. But there's one thing about the blue dragon that I haven't told you yet, and I'm actually quite embarrassed I forgot to mention it a couple weeks ago. What is this dragon's name? Well, St. John Paul II mentioned it in his letter, but I decided to call this dragon of wrath Chara. It is a Hebrew word that means burning, and it's spelled Charah. It's often combined with the word anger for burning anger. We all know that dragons breathe fire, and fire burns and causes much pain. The blue dragon can be especially cruel and mean, so we need a battle strategy to face this dragon with courage. Today we focus on the weapons or virtues to defeat Chara. There are actually several important weapons we can use here. Meekness is one of them. Jesus was meek and humble of heart. That doesn't mean weak, even though those words rhyme. Meek means strength under control. And if there's one thing a blue dragon wants, it's for you to lose control, especially of your temper. Think of a horse. A wild horse has a lot of power, but you can't ride it or use it for anything useful because it's wild. To meek a horse actually means to harness its power for good, not to make it weaker. A horse that is meek can be ridden into battle, carry heavy burdens, and do much good because its strength is under control. In the same way, we talked about how anger is a natural human emotion, and sometimes it is the proper response to an injustice, like when Jesus got angry and overturned the money changer tables. Our anger can motivate us to right what is wrong, but it must be done under control, not with violent wrath or rage. Our goal is to bring peace and reconciliation, as Jesus is the Prince of Peace. But often the reason we're angry is because somebody did something to hurt us, physically or emotionally. And so, a primary weapon to slay Chara, the blue dragon of wrath, must be forgiveness, as St. John Paul II taught us. We must learn to forgive the people that hurt us. Remember the analogy about cancer that I used a while back? When somebody has cancer, it means they have abnormal cells reproducing in their body, causing the body to break down and organs to break down, and ultimately, they will die if the cancer is not stopped. Well, the cancer is the dragon. I hate cancer. It took my dad, and it took my Uncle Jerry and my Uncle Larry and both my grandfathers, and I bet you know people you love who have been affected or even died from cancer. We should seek ways to destroy the cancer, but treatments for cancer can be challenging. We have to find a way to destroy the abnormal cells in the body without destroying or killing the person we care about. Our goal is to kill the cancer and save the person. We hate cancer, but we love the person. Remember this concept when it comes to anger and wrath. We will have enemies in this world. People may hurt us or persecute us, and many martyrs have even been killed by those under the influence of dragons. But the Christian response to these people is not revenge. The proper response is to hate the sin or dragon, but love the sinner. Instead of seeking to destroy the people who disagree with us or annoy us or try to hurt us, we should seek ways to save them from the dragons. We should pray for our enemies. We should desire their conversion and their salvation, because that is what Jesus, the ultimate dragon slayer, taught us by his words and witness. This is one reason why as Catholics we don't support the death penalty. We want to allow God the opportunity to heal all dragon wounds, and forgiveness is a powerful healing balm. It may not always heal our enemies, but it will always heal us. The prayer Jesus taught us, the Our Father, says, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us." Now I'll admit, this is no easy task, which is why I told you to face the fire-breathing blue dragon Chaudhara. You must have great courage. For each virtue or weapon I have taught you so far, I have associated it with a medieval weapon. Humility was the sword to slay pride. Admiration was the ballista to slay envy. Zeal was the spear to slay sloth. Generosity was the trebuchet to slay greed. And for forgiveness, I've chosen the dagger. Why a dagger? Well, because we're fighting against a dragon that tempts us to quick, sudden, and violent outburst that cause deep pains and many regrets. It is a dragon that gets in your face and wants revenge, and a dagger is used at close range. Perhaps you've heard the phrase, a dagger to the heart. It is often associated with an extreme heartbreak when you hear somebody you love say something awful about you or hurt you in a way that causes a deep wound. That deep wound makes you feel hurt and angry, and you're tempted to find justice by getting revenge and hurting them back or holding a grudge, which causes a vicious cycle of pain and nobody wins. This is what the blue dragon wants. Dragons are vicious. That word vicious comes from the root word vice, which is the opposite of virtue. To break the vicious cycle of hurting, we must forgive, which is a dagger to the dragon's heart, as it is the only thing that stops the blue dragon from stealing more souls, and it's the only way to find peace in our own heart, even if a scar remains and the pain doesn't fully go away. We must echo the words of Jesus on the cross, "Father, forgive them, they know not what they do." So my challenge to you this week is to wield a dagger of forgiveness and slay the blue dragon. How? Learn to control or meek your temper. Say you're sorry if you've done something wrong to someone else. Say, "I forgive you" if somebody else has done something to hurt you. And until next week, I'll leave you under the protection of St. Michael the Great Archangel, St. Joseph the Terror of Dragons, and Mary, Queen of the Angels, Our Lady of Grace, and the woman whose seed crushed the head of the dragon.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God created you to be.
Hey, parents and kids. This week we're going to send our Training Guild members a story called All Things New, read by the author of the book and her little ducklings. It's an awesome story about the sacrament of reconciliation and how God forgives us. And the whole book rhymes. If you aren't a member of the Training Guild, please go to extraordinarymission.com/dragonslayers and register for free. And remember, listen to Catholic Sprouts every day, including Saturdays with Sir Roland.
This podcast is part of the Spoke Street Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.